my gosh. Where were we? Okay. All right, Sean, this is for you. This has been a long time coming. Gunnery Sergeant Sean Schoonmaker, 4th Force Reconnaissance, insert June 1987, extract January 2008. All right, we'll read the rest when we get there. But I want to say this: when I came to the command, everything's like I remember going through pre scuba training. It's a training session that I'll admit I didn't pass. And I remember the debrief. I think I rocked out on academics. Mark Williams and I were both academic rocks. I was like, Sergeant, we didn't have goggles. We're doing all this stuff in the pool, ditching dons, covering up goggles, and then we're doing flutter kicks with Big out in the snow. There's a door you open. You got to do that out in the snow. You can't do that in the pool. You got to do that out in the snow, right? And I said, I couldn't see too well. I'm trying to take this test, and also I missed a count on one of the laps that I took. So I think I did an extra lap, but I know I was within the swim time because I've been practicing. He's like, if you can't count, how the hell are you going to be a diver? Like, that's a good point. Fortunately, when I went to dive school, I remembered how to count, do all those sorts of things, and became a diver, right? So thanks, I appreciate that. Sometimes you gotta learn the hard way, and as a Lance Corporal, I was quite used to that. So no, that's my experience. I appreciate that. But this is a man that was it's like the reserves sometimes weren't taken seriously until a reservist shows up and graduates as the honor grad, and then they make another excuse. Oh, the reservists have all kinds of time just to get ready for Ranger School and graduate as the honor grad. Like they just go out in the woods on their own and just wander around. They don't have jobs and college courses and things. I honestly heard that. I had to correct that from an old team leader at First Force. I won't bring Blanton's name out there. But, we got a little, yeah. So, but anyway, that fundamentally changed things. And then that was important because there is negativity, reserve active. You guys know that. And that set me on a course, almost a crusade, to make sure that crap was just not tolerated, right? So that kind of shaped how I acted as an officer. So thank you for doing that, or else I could have been some other dumbass that didn't know any better. But anyway, now we have a lot to say, so who's first?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Another guy that kept me out of trouble.
Oh, man. Scoon and I came up the same generation. We were that generation after you, Randy and Finn and the fellers. We came after. We looked up to you guys. You guys were like the greatest, like God. So we schooled up during the first Gulf War. Spent a lot of time together, trained together always. And after I got out, a buddy of mine with Reading PD and I started running the Marine Corps ball up in Reading. So we put it on for all these seniors in our community, and it became a big deal. And one year, we didn't have a speaker for the ball. We were kind of like, now we got to get a speaker. So I got a hold of Scoon, and Scoon came up and just created an outstanding, motivating speech for all these old, at the time there was a lot of World War II and Korean War vets.
The fact that I was speaking to all those World War II guys scared the crap out of me. I just want to be real clear on that.
Yeah, it was a legit bunch of guys. And Scoot came up and just did an awesome job, man. I was so glad that you're my friend and you did that for us. We've always been close, and we had such a good time training. When you go through a horrible, shitty situation, some of the things it just brings you closer, and you can laugh about it afterwards. But yeah, you were always like this. You were a staff sergeant when I was a sergeant, so you were always just ahead of us, taking care of us a little bit. You always did a good job taking care of my generation of Fourth Force guys. So, man, great job, and I appreciate it, Scoon. Who's next? You don't get it yet? No.
I'll go next.
Yeah, I'll go next.
So the very first word when it comes to Scoon that will come to mind is logic and unbelievable professionalism. So I came to the unit in August of 2000, and just hearing of all the schools that he had been through, and just like Mike had shared, not just going to schools, but being an honor graduate of schools. And Rexroad and I talked a little bit about the emotions that were a part of our platoon sergeants and platoon commanders. And if there was one stabilizing feature of the unit, it was him. Always logical, machine-like, getting the job done, professionalism. If you weren't at the jump brief or the dive brief on time, you weren't gonna execute that mission. Three things that are kind of emotional, and I see that Lisa is here. So we all activated right in the early part of 2003 for Operation Iraqi Freedom, and I remember we had like the legal person come to do powers of attorney and wills and things like that. And I think we told the lieutenant, hey, we got like 9 people that want to do things. 24 people letting you guys run in ink on his printer and stuff. And I think like a day later, Schoon comes in and says that he's gotten married to Lisa. It's kind of like, wait, what? What did you do? But the legal guy's gone, and that sort of thing. And so just an interesting, that very, very emotional deployment for everybody, coming back. I think a handful of us shortly after, transitioned and moved on. You kind of fast forward through life. I'm coming back to the unit, and what I'll share with you. So, I'm one of the people that didn't make this happen years ago, because I still have a picture at home of me handing him his retirement certificate, and I can share with you. At that moment, you're kind of like, especially as a commander, you're like, man, what did I do wrong to have this person leave? That's just such a wonderful Marine. But I knew also that the family was so important to Schoon, and that was a big part of his life. I will share one unique story, so and I won't go into a lot of detail. So one of the most vivid memories that I'll always have of him is we were on annual training in Alaska, and in one of them, about midway through when we had kind of a break to do wash and things like that, we gave the Marines some time off. Schoon knocks on the door at 7 in the morning and says, hey sir, we got some things going on. Let me see if I can sort it out. And 7:30 in the morning, it's like, no, we have to have a formation. And fast forward about 20 minutes later, I'm getting detained by the local police and getting taken down to jail. So we have a very unique and interesting thing, story to tell. When people have come in fact, I was a 2-star Marine Forces South, and a Marine came into our front office and he said to the Sergeant Major and our Chief of Staff, so is General Fay shared that time you got arrested in Alaska? In front of all of his Marines? And the Sergeant Major's like, oh sir, we got to go into the office. We got to hear this story, that kind of thing. And so anyway, but he was the person to break the news, and while a handful of us were, going through all that, he's the rock and the stability to take the unit through the next 12, 24 hours, make sure that the training kept going. One of the things that I love the most about Schoon is that when I see things posting on Facebook, he's taking care of his family, he's taking care of his community, he's constantly giving back. He is just a wonderful human being. I will share with the crowd so that whenever I see him, which is a quarterly basis, donating blood, I want to say, oh, this is just your software update for Cyberdyne Corporation. He stepped back and I said, I don't know how you take it. You may drive to Southern California and show me some of the upgrades. But it has been an honor to know him. I've known him 22 years now, which is it's like a lifetime. And I could not be more proud. I haven't even talked about the CrossFit stuff, but he is just wonderful professional. I know he's supporting his family and his community, and I'm proud to say that I served this strong. So.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
All right. Don't drop it. I've got it.
Probably a lot of you don't know, I didn't really have a lot of interaction with some of these guys, only because I came back as a platoon sergeant. And years later,
Excuse me.
and then I ended up getting promoted out a couple years later. So to me, when I think of Schoon, I think of somebody that Nick Reyes was thrashing for some reason. I don't know why. And the other memory that I have is when our I decided to save money on a dive recall, and he decided we would go out to Lake Pyramid in March
That's
and
not
do
me.
dive recall out there. And we hit the surface of the first dive and it's snowing on us. And everybody's like, running for the bus with a heater, and we're not going back out, sir. It's not a mutiny, but we're not going back out in that water.
I was a safety diver for that freaking first dive. Freaking
So
hell
about
on
2
earth.
2 days later, we're in Key West, Florida, doing our dive recall down there where we should have. But again, he doesn't know it, but I kind of briefly passed through his tail wash there in Kuwait when your tent caught fire. Because I was with a JTF over there, and I went to my Marines and made them all give up some extra uniforms. I took a bunch of uniforms out to his guys, but I don't know. I think he was standing in front of the general for something. I don't know for what. Anyway, well deserved. Working with you. Right, thank you for sure. Hey, no problem.
So, great stories, Colonel Page. But I would just offer that he was my platoon sergeant for a while. But Schoon was always there in Reno, right? He was always there. I mean, if something needed to go happen before we had drill or after drill, Schoon was always there. We drove back many times back to Sacramento, and I would be thrilled to be back home after a long Sunday, and I'd drop him off at the Greyhound station so he could then stay at the Greyhound station and then at some point move back to Berkeley over the course of the night, right? I'd be already be home. He'd still have several hours left on his trip, but he was always there, always dedicated to drill, always willing to lead by example in terms of physical fitness and going to schools and everything. And so when you look at, and we have a lot of different people here, part of different generations, there's a whole bunch of people who looked up to Schoon, just saying, that's the Marine I want to be like, right? I want to strive to be like him and be that leader. He's done a bunch of amazing, cool stuff, and this paddle's a great representation of it. But I'm glad you all are here. He's a great guy, and I'm glad we're all here to honor him. So, anyway.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Cheers. Who's next?
Yeah, we started. Just great memories. I can remember when you came over, you were 2531 from 23 Marines, corporal, and hit the ground running. The one thing I will say about Schoon is you could count on him. And the other thing, I think he's the only Marine I've ever met in my entire life, never had an excuse for something, never needed an excuse. Give him a task, it's done. Ask a couple questions, orient, boom, act, go. He is that kind of individual. And I think it shows through today in everything you do on the outside world. And extremely proud to have served with you and helped bring you into the community back in the day. And you did well for yourself. I'm very proud. Very reliable. I love you, man. Thank you. Take care. Okay.
You ready to present?
I'll say something too.
Absolutely.
You hold that.
You have to fight each other with the paddles.
Troubled waters. That's right. I want to see a little Robin Hood and Little John action.
Machine talk. I'll reference, I don't know if it was mountain warfare training down in Bridgeport or if we might have done one of our cold weather trainings up in the Sierras. One thing I'll never forget is Schoon. You get those like 6,000 calorie winter MREs. Yeah. They had like really good oatmeal full of sugar. Schoon had turned after putting the hot water in the oatmeal, he turned the bag inside out and it was a combination of licking and fingering the outside of the bag to get every last bit of that freaking oatmeal out of that cold weather MRE bag. I'll never forget that. The other thing is, at Marine Corps balls, that guy you have a Cheshire cat grin, my friend. It was like the largest, when Schoon was happy or laughing. I mean, with all the professionalism, man, he knew how to let loose, and like it's right there.
That's right. That's right.
And that it was. I love knowing you, man. You're such a good Marine, and yeah, it was. I mean, how many times have we heard from whether it's enlisted or officers? Frickin' Schoon went to every frickin' school. Yep. And like was at the top of every school. It's like, oh, what school haven't I not gone to? Oh, Master Dive, frickin' Jump Master, Ranger. I mean, He is probably one of the most schooled up Marines in the Marine Corps. So, awesome work, Scoon. You deserve it, man. Thank you. I'll switch. All right.
Now we do this.
One real quick. Switch. Here we go.
All the good stories about Scoon.
Fifth platoon.
Guys, a rigid personality. My favorite memory of him, or one of them, is the Aruba deployment. 1984. We showed up and Carnival was ongoing, and we were training with the Dutch Marines, and the Dutch somehow convinced Scoon, who I never thought would do this, into participating in their float. And so Scoon was dressed up as a Viking, dancing around, swinging a sword.
I would love to see
I've got
photos
a great
of that.
photo of it, and until this started, I'm like, man, I wish I would have brought that.
Oh, God.
Just for the fun side. Thank you for everything you've done, Scoon. Sign his name.
That's got to get blown up the next one.
Oops.
All right.
So it's funny. I'm in my backyard. It's my parents' house, as we know. Sound like a George Costanza moment, right? But my parents did wonder at one point, like, why are you driving from San Diego to Reno to do Marine Corps stuff, right? And then sometimes I would even have to say, can I borrow some gas money so I can go from San Diego to Reno to do Marine Corps stuff? Now, maybe we know why, but this is why, right? It's that brotherhood. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I was drilling a unit a little closer at Miramar 4th Tank Battalion, but I left that unit. These folks gave me a chance, right? And the chance was, here's a rope, here's a pack, go, get in the pool and do all this stuff. It was a test, but that's kind of why we all joined the Marine Corps. We wanted to be tested. We wanted to become warriors, right? We wanted to do Viking yet, right? So anyway, that's why. In case you've been wondering all these years long, yeah.
Mike, I knew.
I'm just kidding. I'm in my backyard. It's kind of weird. I gotta, I've never done a paddle ceremony in my backyard, so you have to. It's different, especially one this special as well. But anyway, yeah. So now you know. Yeah. And I owe you some gas money. I get it. We're working on that. Okay. Not at today's prices. Going back to 1995.
The interest, though.
So we can't get too complicated. Your demonstrated leadership, unmatched skill, and courage exemplified the highest qualities of the Force Reconnaissance Marine and ensured the success of the command. You are truly the best of the best. Fair winds and following seas.
Hoorah.
Tabs on there. We've got everything.
It's the best of the best.
Picture time. Here we go. Picture time.
All right.
There we go. That's great.